Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. And there is Sarah pretending to be Louise Loring. Maybe I'll change your label there.
I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't
I
worry
was on
about
another
it.
meeting and no one knows Louise, and I was on as Louise.
Wow.
I know.
I thought it was something to do with our stuff.
I don't know. No, I don't know how it happened.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the.
Are we in the meeting or not? Did you call the meeting?
No, I did not, but I am now. So it is Monday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. and I am calling the meeting to order for the Village of Saxons River. It is not a special meeting. I apologize to all of you who pay attention to the headings. It's just our regular meeting that's left over from a previous artifact. So is there any public comment?
I have
Rick?
I have just a small idea that I came up with, and you guys can do whatever you want with it. I know there's been a lot of talk, chatter, concern about traffic. And I know something that I've observed that was done in Chicago, it was done in Boston, and I also saw it in New Hampshire, which is those yellow signs that go in crosswalks that say state law to yield to pedestrians. It's something that I see all the time. I know personally, it's something that makes me much more alert and aware that it's more than me just in my car in a road, and makes me pay attention to, slow down. So just thought I would throw that out there. I don't know if that's something that you guys have already thought about, but.
That sounds great.
Okay.
I think we have radar signs on Westminster Street, which, I don't know where you're envisioning. You said crosswalk, so that sounds like Main Street.
These are yellow signs that go in the middle of the road, on the road, and they go in the crosswalk.
Okay. Great.
They've used them before in Saxons River.
Oh,
I think somebody ran them over last time we put them down.
The one in front of the store, it's tight there because of the way the cars park, and it seems to get run over.
Huh.
It's been my experience in the past, but they have been used.
Okay. Great. And did they have an impact on speeding?
No. People use them to as like rodeo barrels.
Wow. Okay.
But we could try something else. The only other thing to think about is Main Street is a state highway.
Yep.
So there's regulations that go along with that.
Yep. Okay. Margaret Vandenberg also talked to me, and I expected her to be here for public comment. So I will make her comment, which is actually applicable. In fact, I'll save it for Hartley Hill. Never mind. Any other public comment? Peter, that looks like you. Are you here to make public comment or just to listen to the meeting? Obviously, both are fine.
Well, I was especially interested in the Westminster speed radar signs.
Okay, so that's coming up on the agenda.
Right. There seem to be a lot of ideas about where they would be most effective. And,
okay, so no other general public comment at this point?
Well, if you're talking about crosswalks, there is another option which they just installed next to the pool in Springfield, which is a push button on a post and a flashing yellow light that flashes at the drivers.
So is this on a state highway? I'm not sure where the pool is.
It's at the intersection of Clinton and Bridge Streets in Springfield, but the parking lot is on Bridge Street and gets a lot.
Is this by Edgar May?
Yes, that's the pool I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. They just recently installed they had a crosswalk already, and they installed push button flashing yellow lights. They also
Okay.
have them in Keene in a few places.
Okay.
But I talked to the staff, and they said they seem to be helping and getting people to. I mean, I'm thinking in particular like the crosswalk by the market, where it's very hard to see the people.
Mhm.
I've walked out there, and cars just
Mhm.
zoomed right by me.
Okay. Other comments? All right, let us move on to handling recurring bills. Sarah, you're on. So this came up at the last agenda, and we didn't really want to make any motions without your presence.
Okay.
I think we were particularly concerned about the routine payments that come in. And Ellen, after we hear from Sarah, maybe you'd like to weigh in as well. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, often I can give you a specific example. One is I don't think there's a big, our routine payments, the VTEL is the same every month. Green Mountain Electric is within, on the wastewater treatment plant within a couple $100, depending on the time of year. I'm sorry, I'm getting messages like crazy on my thing. So for instance, the warrant that I got from September 9th had bills from sort of the end of July, August 1st. So the time I got them on September 10th, they're already late. And I just think with the specific, especially with Green Mountain Power and VTEL, it's going to be obvious to me that there's a problem if we get a $500 bill for the firehouse. So I think that could be paid every month without having to be on a warrant.
Okay. I see Matt's hand.
Is QuickBooks up and running?
Yes. No, I'm about 75% of the way through it. I don't have a ton of history in it yet.
Right. So it's just a push of a button when we're up and running with that to get that paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. That's great.
If we don't have an exact amount for these bills, I'm not sure how we're going to be doing automatic. We're just kind of gauging it, and then we're going to have a credit. And just seems like if QuickBooks is up and running and the bills are being paid diligently, it hasn't been a problem in the past. We certainly shouldn't be having a notice that we're going to have our power shut off at the sewer plant anytime.
So we have been through a couple of transitions, not just the transition in equipment and software, but Ellen, you just took on the warrants, and I'm sure that's been a steep learning curve because you're doing a number of other things as well. Do you want to talk about the process?
Sure. My goal is every week to drop them off to Sarah. And when I say every week, there might be a time during the summer where I would drop it off on, let's say, the Saturday. And then that whole week goes by, and then I'll come by the end of next week and drop that off. So that could be it. I mean, it could be because of summer and getting a routine set up. I think I've been pretty diligent, and Sarah and I came up with a system where I drop off a folder, and the folder says Saxons River Village. And on one side is accounts receivable, and on the other side is accounts payable. I go to the post office every week, pick up the bills, add them to the warrant, drop them off. So I think it's just everybody getting into a new routine.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Go ahead, Carl.
Sort of getting back to Matt's point. When you talk about automatic payment for recurring bill, are you talking about simply authorizing the bank to pay whatever amount Vermont Telephone or Green Mountain Power say we owe them? So it will be paid directly from the bank without our seeing it?
We could do it one of two ways. We could certainly do it the way I have my electric and my telephone set up, which is that the company takes the, $78 for electricity every month out.
So it's a set amount?
For my electricity, no, that's based on usage, just like it would be for anyone else.
Okay.
But the usage.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so usage really for the firehouse and the wastewater treatment plant is pretty consistent. 1,600 from November through May, and a couple $100 less through the summer. But the telephone bills are within like 10 cents of each other. I don't know why 1 month it might be. And then the rec area, depending on if it's a month where we've actually turned it back on or back off, it gets, a little bit different.
The rec area bills are quite small, correct?
Yeah, they're max, I think, $40 or $56.
So let's say your electric bill is $85, just
Yeah.
to pick a number. And then the power company just debits your bank account automatically.
Yeah.
You know that the $85 is what you paid when you get the statement from your bank?
Yes. Or if I look at this, or if I look at the bank account online.
Yeah. So in other words, it goes directly from the bank to the person we're paying without any intervention by us.
Yes, we can do it that way, or we can just do it that the bill gets paid every month, that on a certain date I send the money.
And how would you know how much? I mean, that based on what? On the bill that Ellen?
Because I can look at the accounts for VTEL and for Green Mountain Power.
Ah, okay.
I mean, there's a variety of ways. You can call, you can look online.
Yeah, okay. No, I got you. So I have then another question. I'm sort of unclear about the system we have now. So Ellen, you get the bills every week.
Mhm.
And you put them on a warrant.
Mhm.
And you give them to Sarah.
Mhm.
Okay, Sarah, when you get this folder with the bills in, do you give them right away, or do you wait until we've seen and voted on the warrant?
It depends what kind of week we're in. So if there's sometimes warrants that are going to get voted on, then I wait till they're voted on.
Mhm.
If it's a warrant that Ellen gives me, then I just pay them.
So I think you missed one step there, Carl. Anything that Ellen has eventually comes to us on a list for approval. But we agreed that she would go over the bills ahead of time and bring them to Sarah for prompt payment,
Right.
regardless of where we were in the month. And this is the same procedure that they're using in Rockingham and Bellows Falls.
And then they're on the warrant, and then the warrant comes to us
Right.
the next meeting and we vote and approve it.
Yes, so some of those bills, again, depending on the timing, some of those bills will already have been paid.
That's
Because
what I
we
thought.
agreed that Ellen had the authority to review them and make that decision for us.
That's fine. That was what I remembered. I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure my recollection was correct. So
It's more,
if Ellen is getting the bills every week, and then Sarah's getting the bills every week and Ellen's reviewed them and Sarah can pay them, I don't see why we're a month overdue on bills. I just don't see how that happens.
I think my guess is it happened one of those odd weeks. I don't think it's happening routinely. I
No.
mean, we can look at the warrant and see, but I'm picturing Ellen dropping off bills and going on vacation for 10 days and Sarah being away for part of those 10 days. So, because two people don't have the same schedule, you've got the possibility of a lag time in there. But you're right. As long as the bills come promptly and things move along the way they're supposed to, the bills would be paid promptly.
Well, I haven't gone back and looked at the warrants, and I don't have hard copies of all the warrants. But my recollection is the past several meetings, there's been a bill or two on just about every warrant that said something about past due. Am I wrong, or?
You're not wrong, but they're not actually past due. Often I've paid them, but because because of how Ellen and I and our timing and how the timing of the bills arriving in the mail have not always coincided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that it was also a learning curve for both of us, like getting into a groove. Because like I was using the example before, like I might drop the bills off on let's say August 1st, which is a Saturday. Then, because I went to the post office, all that good stuff. So that whole week goes by. Then the next week starts, but I may not get to the post office on that Saturday and work on the bills. It may be during that following week. So even though I'm getting it weekly, it's not like every single same day. Does that make sense? Like It's not always a Monday that I'll get the bills or a Saturday or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how that would account for the problems we've had.
Matt, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Well, it just seems as though things are getting worked out because we changed to one meeting per month. And if we can get everything on QuickBooks, then I would assume I have QuickBooks, so it's just a matter of sitting down and to do payroll, and takes about 5 minutes. And to go along with that, there probably should be a second person that knows how to do that. If Sarah is going to be gone, say for a month or 2 weeks, and we want to make sure bills are still being paid, someone else should be able to do that, push the button per se.
Sounds like it might be you, Matt. I certainly can't do QuickBooks. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've never done QuickBooks. Let me just say that. I want to make sure we have an issue. We're spending some time discussing this. I had the sense at the last meeting that you wanted to address it as a group. But if you think it's just a matter of working things out, that's kind of the vibe I'm hearing, then we can just keep going the way we are.
Yeah, if this helps everybody, can I share the screen?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me do that. Sorry. It's not just a matter of giving permission, is it?
I'm going to show you the warrant, but with some notes. Then,
Are you okay?
Yeah, I got too many cords hanging here.
Yeah, I thought it was something I could do right on your. Oh, I know where it is. Hold on.
It's down at the bottom of the screen, isn't it?
Well, that's if I want to share the screen, but I think I want to make her a co-host. And it,
Oh, I think that's
okay. I know where to do it. I know.
Participants and then ...
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah, the menu seems to have changed since the last upgrade. So Ellen Lawrence can be pinned, or no, I don't want to pin you.
Well, you don't have to screen share. I can just explain it.
It should be a right click on the participants list, correct? Somebody who does this.
No,
Amy, don't worry about it. I can.
Okay, go ahead, explain. But
yeah.
we've got to make you a co-host later. So go ahead.
Long story short, the the last time I went over to Sarah's house to drop stuff off was September 20th. And so the September 20th was a Tuesday. And so then this last week, which was the week of September 25th, I went to the post office on Saturday the 1st. Okay. So there was 3 things in the mail. 2 are check payments for taxes. Yep. And then one was just and then one was just a bill. So that's all that there was. So I didn't get to Sarah's today. So I'll hope to get it to you maybe tomorrow. Maybe Tuesday's my day.
Okay, sounds good to me. Anyone else? Are you happy without taking action, or is there a move to change anything?
Nope.
Ready to move on?
Yes.
All right. We are on to the municipal planning grant. Let me make sure we've done everything we intended to here. We're on to the municipal planning grant for 37 Main Street. Anybody who attended or went to the tabling on Saturday want to report out to the group?
I
Carl,
walked by
Ellen?
it. Well, I saw you out there, Amy, so that was good on Saturday. I didn't have really any interaction on Saturday. I mean, the meeting that we had on Thursday was fantastic. So I want to give a huge shout out to Amy for putting this all together and working with Gary Smith. I mean, you totally went above and beyond, and Thursday night just showed. There was so much.
It isn't all me. So there's been a great committee of what we call stakeholders advising me. So they were the ones who said, feed people, make sure everybody's in a good mood. So, that kind of
no,
thing.
Amy, it wasn't just that. It wasn't because of food. But for those of you, Gary Fox was there, and I talked with him afterwards, and we had 59 people there at Main Street Arts. Yeah. And we were talking about the census, and I said, well, Saxons River census has 500 people as of the 2020 census. So that was more than 10%. And granted, some of them were from UMass that were doing the presenting. I think that might have been 5 or 6, but still we exceeded 10% turnout for this. And there were so many great ideas, and the energy in the room was fantastic, and people were excited and respectful, and just I was so darn happy. So it was really exciting. Got a lot of people talking, a lot of people interacting, and new people meeting each other. So it was a total win-wins for Saxons River.
Yeah. I'm hoping we can keep the energy going.
I think so. I think we will.
Carl, do you want to add anything?
Well, I thought it was interesting that there were at least a couple of people who are not actually residents of the village, but near neighbors, sitting in to see what was going on. I thought that was a positive sign. People who are sort of in our orbit, but not actually residents. I thought that the UMass team moved things along very smoothly. They had a pretty well thought out plan. They kept to schedule. They kept us to task. They did a good solicitation of comments from the floor, but they managed to keep the discussion controlled so that we didn't get sidetracked. And all in all, I think things went pretty smoothly, and was well organized and well run.
Good. All right. Kudos to Susan Still, who's not at this meeting, who also made sure that the room was set up properly ahead of time, brought her skills and background to things like how to arrange the tables. I mean, that all happened before the UMass team arrived. So that was great. And I think they were surprised at how many people came out. And I was kind of pleased too. I don't know how you felt, Rick, but I was really hopeful that we'd have 30. So the fact that we got double that just seemed phenomenal.
I mean, I didn't have any expectations about the number of people. I was very surprised at how positive everything was. Like everyone is full of a lot of like hope and very forward thinking. And I thought that was great. You know, being new to the town, that was, or new to the village, that was really great.
Yeah, good. Okay, any questions? I
One other thing
promised.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
mention is that there seemed to be a lot of consensus from table to table on what important issues were. I mean, a lot of things came up from several different sources that I was sort of surprised about the cohesiveness of some of the thought.
Okay. So there were surprises there for me, though. I mean, the idea of from different sides of the room, access to the river as something
Yeah.
that Saxons River should work on. I mean, I was thinking quite literally about the west end of Main Street, but and certainly there are plenty of people wending their way down to the below the park to swim. So very, very legitimate idea. Yeah. So update there'll be an announcement in mid-October, probably, giving people a reminder that the November 2nd meeting is coming up. There may be some preliminary information coming out. The UMass team is at this week. They are collating all of the responses that were received. So whether the responses were received at the Thursday night meeting, both the bubble diagrams and the image responses, what they call the visual image survey. So those responses, the responses on Saturday, and the people who use the bit.ly link, Saxons River, all of those will be collated, and we will have those scanned sheets to use as we want going forward. I mean, they're also going to be the topic of the November 2nd meeting. And if you remember, in the grant, we asked for 3 feasible alternatives for us to chew over and think about at the November 2nd meeting, and then a final wrap-up report that will happen in December. So that's what we are now. I'm continuing to meet with the team probably on a weekly basis. So if there are any questions for me to take back to them, I'm happy to be that conduit. I know that Ann Manor-McClarty is working on a big poster that will go, I think, either in the window of Main Street Arts or in the window of the dish of 37 Main Street. Are there any questions for me to take back or for us to answer at this point in time? Okay. Moving on, the Athens fire contract. Rick, I'm not seeing Sandy.
I am texting back and forth with her madly, trying to help her, but I don't know that she's going to be able to. I don't know what's going on with her.
Okay, so we can save it for the end of the meeting. Sandy Caponcelli is a member of the select board in Athens, and she would prefer to use executive contract to bring up executive meeting to bring us up to date on what's happening in Athens with the discussion of the contract offer we made for them. So we'll address that when we get to the end of the meeting. If that's all right with everyone.
Yeah.
Any objection? Okay. Hearing none, we are on to the permanent radar signs on Westminster Street. And I think, Matt, we put this on at your request. So why don't you start the discussion, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, no, I don't mind. So I reached out to Scott Pickup and Andy of the Rockingham Department of Public Works and had a meeting, and we walked around Saxons River in several locations, starting on Westminster Street. I discussed with them since I've been working there for quite some time. On the corner, the speed and the dangerous nature of that intersection of Westminster Street, which turns into Westminster West Road, that turns into Hartley Hill Road. And they're going to look into it. I probably have brought it up before and discussed with them that the Wyndham Region Commission had done a study of that quite a few years back. I don't have a copy in front of me, which basically turned the end of Hartley Hill Road with a stop sign so that you couldn't just fly up Westminster Street and onto Hartley Hill without any slowing down or stopping. But it stopped traffic in 3 locations there, and no, I guess the town didn't like the looks of that.
So it was a 3-way stop sign?
Yeah, everything came to a stop, and the end of Hartley Hill turned.
How would the end of Hartley Hill turn?
Well, at the end of it, you would have to. Well, again, I don't have it in front of me, but it wouldn't be a straight shot off Westminster Street, and I'm not proposing that that's what should happen.
So it sounds like it's cutting across Carl's property.
Or across.
Well, it goes around behind his house.
Through his driveway.
Wow.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you.
Again, I'm not proposing that that's what happened. I just mentioned that something needs to be done there. Signage may help, probably not. And they were going to look into maybe painting something in the road that would delineate that the road doesn't go straight there, which is what I noticed working there, that it's just amazing, the vehicles that come up Westminster Street and do not lift off from their gas pedal and go straight onto Hartley Hill. It's amazing someone hasn't ended up in Carl's porch by now with a severe accident.
That did happen a few years ago before I lived here.
Well, yeah, I just feel it's horrible. So they were going to look into a few options, and I would soon, kind of report back to us what they think they can do to help that intersection. I don't know, as I discussed with them, putting up permanent radar signs there.
Okay.
I did discuss that there is a lot of speed there, not everyone.
But it sounds like you got at the issue and made it really clear to them. And I think it's genius to walk it and be on the spot seeing what's happening. Yeah.
So I was happy that they were able to, and they stuck with me as we walked. And we were standing at the end of the driveway at the Warner Center. And I did say, there's a lot of people that come from the village and walk up Hartley Hill, and they're walking in the road on that corner. That sidewalk should probably be lengthened and get to Hartley Hill. Whether they do that or not, I don't know. They thought it was a good idea, but I've seen people coming off from Hartley Hill, people going up on Hartley Hill, and you end up on the road on the bad corner. Then I walked down as far as sidewalks. So I walked from there to down into the bridge, and just pointed out how those sidewalks have not been upgraded and are in horrible shape. One of them with quite a sinkhole in it that's been there for years. And
so where's the sinkhole?
They just filled it in the other day.
The one by the inn?
On that stretch?
Yeah, it's the one next to 8 Westminster Street.
Okay. Well, yeah, we walked there and looked at it, and they just kind of shook their heads. And
what's that doing there?
Right. And Andy says, I can drive around in the truck. He said, it is better that we're walking on it. So, I said from Hartley Hill to the bridge needs to be, redone. It's up the upper sections there. It's lower than the road. And it should be built up a little bit so that the road doesn't drain onto it, especially in the winter months. There's a section of concrete that is on the common side of the side bridge where there's a good 2.5 inch lip where some of the concrete has settled. And I had a resident inform me that she took quite a spill there, tripping on that. So just wanted to point that out to them. And
Did you guys go up Academy and Pleasant Street?
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry. I thought you were
I'm not done
winding
yet.
up. Great.
So then we crossed over and started at the post office and headed towards the rec area. And if anyone's been on that stretch, it is not someplace you want to be. When cars are going by, and they were amazed. He's like, "There's no sidewalk. You're standing in the road." And it's like, yeah, this needs to be upgraded from here to there. And so it was very informative, and they really get it that it's bad. So then I traveled down to the other end of town. I did not go up Academy Ave for some reason. I don't know why. I should have circled around. I went up Pleasant Street because there's sections up there that have sinkholes and they haven't been touched for 15, 20 years. All of these are at least that long. I've lived in town since 1981, and it's been a while. So it was again very informative and eye-opening to them of the severity of these, and seemed like they were going to try and come up with a plan to maybe take care of some of these over a course of some years. I wouldn't think that it's anything that's going to happen all of them at once, but it's glad to get things moving.
Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
that was a good approach.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so no schedule, just now they're aware they were going to, Scott was saying, as far as tax dollars, they're going to have to find some grant money to go with it because of what they're seeing as numbers here, there, and whatnot, that, it's not going to happen quickly. But now that they're aware of it, I think we obviously need to follow up probably on a yearly basis. Something should be done for sidewalks in Saxons River every year, really, even if it's done in sections. But it's time to get these fixed. Great. So the reason I mentioned Academy and Pleasant is because I wrote to the town of Rockingham, and in particular Andy. A resident asked me to look into trucks parking on the sidewalk on Academy and Pleasant. And I don't know if it came up when you were there, and I don't know what time of day you would have to be there to see it, but obviously that's not a good use of sidewalks, and they're going to decay if that happens.
All weekend and pretty much every day after 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
When we walked up Pleasant Street, said vehicle was not in its location because I've seen it there. And Andy did say something about, he made some mention of that.
Okay.
That he had heard something about vehicles.
It's been reported to the town of Rockingham.
Okay.
By the same resident, I believe.
Okay, great. So maybe we do something about this. We put this on our agenda for the spring, or does it come up in November? When does November's budget hearings, right? Should we be talking to Andy about getting some budget dollars into what we're going to be voting on?
I think, and he and, I don't know if Scott is the one to CC on that also, just so that they're aware of it. But I think that, we need to just keep asking, and they know what it looks like now. So.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, we're all Rockingham residents, perfectly legitimate to attend those budget meetings and argue for sidewalk expenditures in this part of the town.
Yeah, I had spoken to one of the board members, and I don't know, last year, year before, and I had heard oh, they got $50,000 for sidewalks and they're not doing anything with it. So
Yeah, I
don't
think that
know.
might have been when Ellen got some work done up towards the wreck. They came through and did some work then, didn't they, Ellen?
Yeah, they were paving Pleasant Valley Road, and I was like, hey, you. I was like, I ran outside and I'm like, hey, has anybody thought about these sidewalks? And Andy went back to Scott and they talked about it and they had it, they were able to incorporate it in.
Good.
I don't know how or what, how that went about, but it was just, you know.
That's good. That's a bad section up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy was great. He was just fantastic with the response. Because you know, it's kids walking up to the wreck and it was summertime and it just seemed to make sense to.
Yeah. Great.
So can anybody tell me, Carl, maybe you would know, and Matt, you've been on longer than any of us. Do we typically send a delegation to the budget meetings? Do we just show up individually with feedback? Do we talk to Peter Golick? What's the process to get our issues represented at those tables?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but
okay. Carl, do you have a recollection from previous years?
I don't recall that there's been any concerted effort to get village issues represented on the budget. I've never been to the budget hearing.
Right.
Yeah, well, as I said, I think we're all Rockingham residents, so it's certainly legitimate. I'll talk to Peter Golick. Go ahead, Sarah.
So, Matt, because I don't know the specifics of this, if you could give us a little history, because I know Saxons River gave up some tax money to the town of Rockingham for these projects. Is that correct, or is that a?
Well, before I got on the board, the village used to tend to their own sidewalks. Every year there was money budgeted in the village taxes to take care of the sidewalks. And then I don't know how many years ago it was turned over to the town of Rockingham. I think it's just a matter of being, having a voice as throughout the year, before budgeting, sending a request or, maybe coming from Amy, something that they can see and say, hey, we've got, sidewalks here, we're budgeting for anything in Saxons River. I think it's been more of, not necessarily the town manager, but whoever's in charge of, like Andy's position, saying, oh, we need to do paving here or sidewalk repair there. And, I think we need to represent a little bit more, just so it's, they're aware of it, they're hearing it, it's in front of them, and they can budget. So every year we are saying, no, Pleasant Street needs, 600 feet done, or so that they can plan for it, and it's helpful to them if we're helping them.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, your hand is up because it was up to be recognized, right? Okay, just checking. Okay, so I think I'm going to add it to the November agenda also. Budget meetings, discuss again, think about what kind of feedback we want to give to the town. But obviously, I mean, Matt, more power to you for going in and having that conversation with Scott. Obviously, that's possible for any of us. I
just had enough. I just see these sidewalks that is like the only way to do it. Someone had said to me, several years in a row, the squeaky wheel. So we need to be the squeaky wheel nicely, and things will get taken care of. Yeah,
I think I've found Scott very easy to talk to, and when I have gone in, I always learn a lot more about how stuff is done. So that's really useful to me. Andy, when I write to him, I don't get anything back, but things happen. So that's also something that works really well. So obviously something that any of us can do. Is there anything more? So I think we're really talking about Matt's discussion about sidewalks. But we began with Hartley Hill and Westminster Street. Anything more on either one of these issues before we move on? Peter?
Well, I just wondered, Matt, did you have specific proposals about a speed radar sign for Westminster Street?
With regards to speaking with them, or just from
Just
my
in
past comments?
general.
No, I think there should be 2 of them on there. That's permanent ones, really, but there's cost associated there. And it would be great to see people slow down.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned that when we're talking about Main Street, we have 2 radar signs and, you know, they work for me. I mean, I see that flash and I slow down, but I know from standing in front of the post office, they do not work for other people because they charge right through and they just passed it. So I'm a little hesitant to spend a lot of money on something that doesn't really have an impact. I don't know, Ellen, are you noticing any difference with the one heading south on Pleasant Valley Road? I think it's just above the rec center.
No.
One thing I've noticed is that they're all inbound and people really speed up outbound. Like as they're going towards Grafton, they pass the post office and they just floor it.
Yep.
And the same on Westminster Street going south. As soon as they get into the straightaway, a lot of people speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's it coming up Pleasant Valley Road from 121.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just think they're going to catch air and just take off because they're going so fast.
Yeah.
All they're doing is
Sarah.
keeping honest people honest, like myself, Matt, Amy, you know, who you see it and you go, oh yeah, let me slow down 5 miles an hour. You know, let me hit the 25, but I'm probably going 30 at, you know. So our 19-year-olds who are in a pickup truck at 8 o'clock on Friday night are not slowing down from 50 to 25.
Right.
Yep.
And I
Thank
will
you for
say
saying our 19-year-olds. That's a good aspect to take.
yes. And our parents who have come back to Vermont Academy after really not being around for 2 years are also forgetting the speed limit on Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah. Well, we could get the sheriff to put out those signs and see if put out the cables and see if there is a time of day when speeding is more likely, and then get the sheriff to police then. But Rick, you're shaking your head. You don't think it's a useful thing?
They just did that. Oh, the other Rick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rick McEachern I was reading his sign language.
Oh, I mean, I was just hesitant to think of collecting more data. It sounds like we have the data. I don't know what the data would tell us.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering if the speeding. So Bartonsville says the speeding is all about commuters. It happens for a narrow window in the morning, and it happens for a narrow window in the afternoon when they come home. If we had a similar situation, we could police more heavily at that point.
Well, and when we started talking about these signs on Westminster Street 2 years ago, was it the Wyndham Commission or somebody they were waiting for paving to get done, and then they were going to put out the thing. So
I got Wyndham Regional Commission to put out traffic counters, which do collect speed.
Which they did not very long ago, because that was.
So I think it ended up being the sheriff counters that were used, and the data was all over the place. Carl, I bet you remember this because it was right near your
my recollection of the data was that they did not find a specific time, and they did not find very many ticketable violations, and they didn't really see a problem. That was I got out of there.
They found no pattern.
Yeah, they found no pattern, and they found no issue of excessive speed. I don't know how they didn't see. Well, the radar wouldn't see people flying through that intersection up Hartley Hill. I mean, you've got to have human eyes on the intersection, or video footage of it rather than just a counter. But I don't know. I mean, that to me is the worst, is the traffic coming up Westminster Street onto Hartley Hill Road. That's the
dangerous intersection.
That's the most dangerous part of that intersection.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. Somebody's going to end up on my front porch, but probably right after they finish painting it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at least we've exposed the problem to the powers that be. I mean, Matt's introduction to Scott and Andy, I'm hoping will shed some light on this. I guess the question is, do you wish to take any action tonight? And if so, what action would you like?
I don't think we need to take any action.
No.
Okay. No motion forthcoming? Rick, you're okay? Rick Holloway? Okay. All right. I think we are ready for committee reports and updates. I know. I'm reminded by the update. Margaret Vandenberg had one thing to add to the Hartley corner, Hartley Hill, Westminster intersection. She believes that people are now using VanCor rather than expose themselves to the speed and the crossing to get onto Hartley Hill. So they're turning onto VanCor at one end and eliminating the corner. She's seeing a lot more traffic. So it's another byproduct of the dysfunction at that corner. Do you know what I'm saying?
Are you one GPS'd it? Because GPS makes some of these weird things around.
Oh, I don't know. She said it wasn't true a year ago, but she's really seeing it now. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess the GPS stuff. That's such a weird one, though, just to turn VanCor and then take it out again.
No, it actually makes it probably physically shorter.
I would have to disagree with that one. I know she lives there, but there has been.
You don't think there's any more traffic?
Well, there could. I would assume there is more traffic, but there's been a turnover in a few of those properties, and there's at least four vehicles that are family of someone who just moved there recently.
Okay.
So it could be.
So maybe it's generated by the neighborhood.
Yeah, because there's quite a few vehicles that come out of there, but I'm seeing the ones that are living there and again, family and friends of those living there. But,
okay.
And coming out at the other end, if you go down VanCor, coming out onto Westminster West Road, that's not a real nice corner either. And I imagine that people would go around that way to go down to West Road rather than just go zipping around the corner at Hartley Hill.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, I promised I would hear her issue, and I have. Committee reports. Okay. Anything on the Saxons River Park? I got a new suggestion from someone on someone to call to do some clear cutting. Does anybody know Mike Stack? The thought was that he might be willing to take on the invasives that are just beyond the fence in the Saxons River Village Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Nobody
Mike.
Acquaintanced with him?
Yeah, I know him.
Okay. Do you want to bring it up with him?
Is that the same Mike Stack I know?
So I think he's a lister now.
There's a couple of them.
Okay, because I'm the Mike Stack I know. I don't think he does that.
No,
I don't.
It's another one.
Okay.
Who is then? I guess I don't know him.
There's one that lives out in the heading towards Westminster West on the right hand side, up behind the cornfield.
Yeah, that's the one I know.
That's the one that's probably. I think he's retired now. So
yeah.
So you'll discuss it with him, Carl?
I can talk to him, sure.
Great. That'd be terrific. Fire station feasibility study discussion. Well, actually, the fire station update. So Rick informs me that Sandy Caponcelli has given up trying to get into the meeting. It's just not possible. So that update on the fire station isn't isn't going to happen. The
I do.
feasibility study came up at the, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Ellen, was that you?
No, you were segueing into it.
Yeah, so the feasibility study came up at the tri-board meeting. The idea of the individual boards kicking in to get a feasibility study done, since it looks like Ellen's carefully written grant is at least not being responded to. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you want me
do you want to
tell you
recap that discussion for us, Ellen?
Yeah,
And-
so I followed up with Gary on the 23rd of September, and he responded that he hadn't gotten an answer still from the USDA.
And it's been
he was
almost
gonna-
a year, correct?
It will be in December. And he was going to put one more call into the program manager, but he's recommending now funding the feasibility study ourselves. And he does have some budget to put forward towards it. I don't know how much that is. And so he wanted to know if Saxons River would put the match discussed or any of its ARPA towards a study.
So did he name numbers?
No, he didn't. And Rockingham had some matching funds indicated as well. So where we're going with this is it something we want to pursue?
I think we need to, but I'm not supposed to venture my opinion. So what we're talking about is a study that looks at how the 3 fire departments work right now. So this would be an effort to capture data, and we would have to say very specifically what the data is that we want captured in order to have sensible discussions as we move forward. So for example, if an alarm goes off in the furthest area of Bartonsville, how long does it take a truck, and where do the trucks come from to respond to that alarm? That's the kind of data that we really need in order to look at this problem. So Carl, you have your hand up.
Yeah, this is a question for Matt. I seem to recall, Matt, you mentioning that we needed to do this before we could proceed with investigating any sort of grants or funding for a village fire station. Is that correct? Or have I missed?
That's what Gary Fox had suggested.
Yeah.
It's a first step.
Right. Yes. That information would be very valuable to getting funding.
Yeah. And when we were at the meeting, the tri-board meeting the other night, Matt, there was a lot more energy towards, or optimistic or enthusiastic energy about pursuing the feasibility study.
Yeah. It seems like they're. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that people who had hesitation before now seem enthusiastic or thinking it's a good idea.
Yeah.
There wasn't the resistance there was before.
Yeah. Well, I think that, what was the figure quoted for a new pumper? Is it $620,000?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it's pretty significant. I think that's the thing that's one of the things that's driving this discussion, knowing that any piece of equipment is increasingly costly and wanting to have some overview on that.
My sense of that discussion was that the focus is on consolidation and moving towards a single town department as a way of saving on redundancy and equipment. I mean, that point was certainly made at the meeting.
I was assured that wasn't the case. I don't know if you watched any of that, but I tended to get a little bit irritated there. And
so the Reformer has published a report, and I have that as a PDF if anybody would like to see it. But we haven't seen minutes from the meeting. I think that's true. Maybe you've looked and seen them, but the last time I checked, there were no minutes up from that tri-board meeting. And typically they lag a little bit after the meeting happens. But I do think that Ellen is correct. We need this data before we can move forward on the grant that would get us into building a fire station. I mean, I think it's.
Can we ask how much our share would be before committing?
Oh, yeah. Deb Wright came up to me very informally after the meeting and suggested that each board might put in $10,000, which would make a $30,000 grant. What did we put into the feasibility study?
5,000.
I'm sorry, each board 10,000, which would make a total of 30,000. Ellen, what did we put into the feasibility study?
Now that, Amy?
Yeah.
It was 20,000 total for the feasibility study. 5,000
for the USDA study.
Yeah,
but I think we had feedback that would not be enough to do the kind of study we wanted without the USDA support.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
So 20,000 for the grant, but what was Saxons River's portion of that 20,000?
5,000.
So we'd have to double ours. We could use ARPA money if we wanted to. Does anybody have a sense of how they'd like to proceed with this question?
Well, I think talking to the town of Rockingham about it, I don't mind the 5,000 we were going to do before, but to make it 10, looking at this list, and I lost my video. I don't know if you can still see me.
We can.
We can.
You can?
Yeah, you look fine.
I can't see anything. I picked up my mouse and the screen is gone, but you're still there.
We are.
It's an odd thing. All three entities here pay Rockingham taxes. So
exactly.
Why wouldn't the town of Rockingham put the bill if we're all paying in already? But
yeah, and I think, Matt, I think you have a valid point, because initially we were getting blowback as to why the town of Rockingham should in for this feasibility. But now, since the energy has shifted and there seems to be this desire, I think we would be more, I think we would see more generosity.
It benefits all three, and it makes it more. So the comment that was made was to have something about, wasn't consolidated, but it was to have everything in one place. And that's where I kind of got a little irritated there.
So I'll send the PDF to everyone. I'll double check on the, so it's the article. Does it, unless you all get the reformal already, this is an article entitled, how many fire trucks does a town need? So I think the focus is actually more on equipment than it is location. In fact, McAuliffe made a point of saying it's not about consolidation.
Right. It is in a sense. And one of the board members there said that he's not interested at all in, taking all three of these and make one fire department. It won't work. But what they would like to do is have some more, this is my sense of it. No one has talked to me about it, but having a central location so that all three fire departments are up to speed with what they need for equipment and training and such, so that all three departments are equal in that respect. And there would be one location, I would assume the paid fire chief, but there would be the other two fire chiefs would be in charge of their fire departments, but coordinated with all three together so that it's more cohesive, and probably can do the whole thing with less fire equipment. But
So Matt, is this continuing to be discussed in the fire committee? You're our representative to that committee.
Right, there's a meeting coming up. I just received October 17th, we're getting together again. So I would assume that is going to be a topic. And
okay, great.
It's probably where it should start.
So why don't you bring that up see where the other people are. I will try and get a sense of whether the other boards want to come together to do a feasibility study and what kind of issues they're thinking about studying. So we
So
have
you want
that.
me to bring up the study itself?
I think you should.
Yes. Okay, I will.
I mean, I don't think we can move forward on a fire station until we get an analysis of the facts involved.
Right. Yep.
I mean, some of the questions that came out on Thursday night reinforced that feeling to me. So we had a round of applause for Art Smith, but we also had residents standing up and saying, why don't we have one fire station that serves the whole town? So that says to me that there's not a clear understanding of what the issues are.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Correct.
you know, it's probably time to do that. That's why Ellen wrote the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay,
Gary wrote the grant. I just saw it, said, hey, let's do it.
You're great, Ellen.
You're a genius.
So the 17th would be the meeting. That's a Monday night, right, Matt, that you're having the fire committee meeting? You said October 17th.
No, I think it was supposed to, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it. I just got back into town, so.
Okay. We always have, we agreed that we would try one meeting a month, but we always have the,
Yes, it
the
is.
option of doing, so it's there would be a conflict. Okay, good to know. We have the option of doing a special meeting, and the suggestion was made that it would be best to do the special meeting on a Monday night, that tends to be the right time. So if you come out of your meeting, Matt, feeling like we really need to act on this sooner, I think that might be the time to propose a special meeting.
Okay.
Otherwise, we will be getting together 3 weeks later, just because of the way things fall out. November 7th would be our next meeting. But we could also, no, we can't have a meeting on the 31st. That's Halloween. Sorry. Forget I even thought that thought. So how does that sound to you folks? We have another discussion of this on our first meeting in November. Do some research, get a report from Matt coming out of the fire committee. I'll check in with the other boards, see where we are on a feasibility study funded by the 3 boards or not.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. You said November 7th would be the next meeting?
Yes.
I'm kind of curious as to what that feasibility study, more specifically, what sort of questions the feasibility study would look at.
So it will look at whatever we say we want looked at.
Well,
So Carl, I think it would be great if you started a cheat sheet of what the issues are for you. Go ahead, Matt.
Are we talking about 2 different things? Because what the town of Rocky, what they were talking about at the tri-board meeting was what was going to happen with what we were trying to get from USDA is, or it's slightly different, where they would take all 3 departments and probably list out all the equipment and personnel that they have. And then they're going to probably look at the calls that are in the area that are covered, and the calls that come from, Rockingham, Bells Falls, and Saxons River, and then put it all together and, say, Bells Falls needs 3 pieces of equipment, Saxons River needs 2, Rockingham needs 5, so that there's not a redundancy of equipment that isn't being used. That's my take on.
So I wrote down what you said. So you said equipment, personnel, number of calls, and area covered. I mean, I think that's a great start for a cheat sheet.
Yeah, so that's what I think that would be studied, and then taking into consideration the location of the 3 departments currently.
Yeah. Sarah, you've got your hand up.
Yes, why wouldn't we prorate how much we put into this study when
So I'll
we're
bring that up.
a village of 500 versus a village of 3,500? And
Well,
then
that's why I'm saying we are a whole town of Rockingham.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll ask that question. Other comments? Okay, I do want to just say one more thing. You remember at the tri-board meeting that Scott is arranging for a company to come in and evaluate the equipment that we currently own with the idea of extending the life of some of those pieces of equipment, perhaps through repair, reconditioning, but
That's
trying
right.
to get the most we can out of every piece of equipment that we own. So that is happening before the feasibility, the feasibility study that we're discussing. Okay, where are we on the agenda?
Wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant. Any issues?
No.
Okay. Rob Wheeler will be away starting the 8th, I think, for 2 weeks, just so you know. In his absence, we've always had great service from the people who manage the wastewater treatment plant. But just keep in mind, if you wanted to bring issues up with Rob, he'll be away starting October 8th. I think we are up to the minutes for approval from September 12th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 12th?
So made.
Rick has moved to approve them. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 12th. Is there discussion on these minutes? Carl, anything you need to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for the minutes of September 12th. All in favor signify with a show of hands. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. We are ready for your warrants. And now I really need to make you the host, Ellen. It's just giving me the option to pin her. This has never happened to me before.
Do you want me to email it to you real quick? I can email it to everyone, actually.
I guess, yeah. Why don't you email it to everyone? I'm sorry, folks. This.
Okay, hold on. Compose. Matt. Amy. Carl. Rick. And Sarah. Okay. Everybody get it?
Hold on. Sometimes it takes me a little while to refresh my screen.
Hey, is anyone having a problem with VTEL being slow and wonky?
Nope.
No?
Well, not until right now.
Nice going.
Sorry, jinxed it.
Why don't you cover the highlights while we're waiting for this to come through, if you wouldn't mind, Ellen.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so we had 6 bills to pay. Green Mountain Power wastewater treatment plant. There was That one did have a past due in it, but I think that Sarah's already paid it. It was in the amount, remember it was 2 months, so $2,962.63. Then we have Green Mountain Power for the Saxons River Rec area. It was coming up past due as well, so I'm sure that that's been paid too. And that was for $202.49. We have the Village of Bellows Falls for VSMI for $180. Then the next three are from VTEL. First one's the fire department for $210.02. VTEL for the wastewater treatment plant, $355.34. And then VTEL for the rec area, $97.22, for a total of $4,007.70.
Ellen, what about the reimbursement for Sam Fletcher?
Was that on the other one?
No, I sent it to you guys on.
Oh, you did, Amy. My apology. I didn't add it. Thank you. I'll do that right now.
That would be great.
Was that $650?
Three something, I thought.
All right, now I'm looking for July. Hold on.
No, I mean, I literally sent it to you guys last Thursday.
No, you did. I was just keeping it a secret. Okay, yep, here it is. Reimbursement for Sam Fletcher.
It's for gas, for mowing, and fees associated with water testing. So postage for that.
Was it $223.59?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, I'll add it. And that's reimbursement to Sam?
Yeah.
Saxons River Rec Area, Saxons River Village, and $223.59. And that would make the new total $4,231.29.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm also looking frantically to see if there's a setting that I needed to shift, but I'm supposed to be able to. So is everybody seeing the missing warrant except me?
Yeah,
It's come in?
I got it.
Do you feel comfortable making a motion based on what you're seeing, Carl?
Sure.
Okay, great.
I move that we approve the warrant for 7 invoices for a total of $4,231.29.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and approved. It's been moved and seconded to approve the warrant in the amount of $4,231.29. Ellen, does that include the item you just discussed?
It does.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor signify by raising a hand. And it's unanimous. Great. So that's warrants and bills for approval. Other business.
Do we need to go into executive session to discuss the contract with Athens? Or
I would like to go into the executive session briefly to discuss that contract. Yes.
okay.
Would you like to? Typically, we save that until the very end.
Okay.
I'm going to jump off though.
Okay, Rick. Do you have
Okay.
any other business before you go?
I
It's
don't.
great to have you here. Thank you so much. And
you.
congratulations. Anne told me that you're working on a project that really highlights the history of Saxons River and the buildings we have here.
Oh, yeah. So that will be happening on the 16th of this month.
Do you want to just tell the group about it a little bit? I know it's not technically business, but I think it's kind of exciting that you've taken on this project.
Sure. So I'm an artist and I'm having an art show that opens this Friday, and it's open the whole month. And I'm having 4 events during the run of the show. I'm having an opening. But one of the events, because 7 of my paintings are of buildings in Saxons River, I'm working with the Historical Society to do an event where people come in and they can share their memories of the building that's in the painting. And then they're going to do a walking tour of the buildings around the town. And this happens on the 16th of October from 2 to 4. So I'll be posting more details, but yeah.
Great.
That's
That's
great.
fantastic.
Yeah. I love this stuff. Okay. Any other business? Thank you, Rick.
Bye.
Thanks, Rick.
Items for the next meeting and the date. The date is,
November
let's
7th.
see. No, is it November 7th?
Yeah, that's what we stated before.
November 7th. The first Monday in the month. And I put, discuss, Town of Rockingham budget. Our budget typically doesn't kick off till later. Am I correct about that? Carl, I know you often take the lead on putting that budget together.
Yeah, we usually look at the budget in the spring.
But well before our town meeting.
Yeah, well, it's not by spring, I mean, after the first of the year. In January or February, we start looking at it.
Okay, in my calendar, that's still deep winter, but okay. All right. I think there was, the feasibility study. We're also going to bring that up again. Anything else people want to see on the November agenda? Okay. I think we are ready for a motion to go into executive session. So I suggest that we go into executive session to consider a matter where premature disclosure to the public would have a negative impact on the contract we are discussing, that people would know what the figures are, and that would be bad. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Or do we just vote on it? Rick?
Someone needs, I make the motion that we go into executive session with all the language you just used, and then somebody should second it and we should vote on it.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor, show of hands. And it's unanimous. And then we move to go into to discuss a contract where the the opposite party is negotiating. So I move that we go into executive session now. All in favor? Oh, I need a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, show of hands. And it's unanimous. We are now in executive session. It's been made and seconded. It's been moved and seconded to leave executive session. All in favor, show of hands. And it's unanimous. Is there any action to be taken? Somebody like to make a motion?
Ellen would like to.
Ellen?
No, you go. I don't know how to phrase it.
I will move that the Saxons River Village Select Board, Village Trustees invite the Athens Select Board
Okay.
to
I
meet
move
with
that the
us. I'm sorry?
Do you want me to repeat it? Are you doing it then?
I'm doing it, yeah. To
Okay,
meet
thanks.
with us for a special meeting to be held in the Saxons River Fire Station at their earliest convenience. The topics of the meeting will be the contract and any action to be taken after the executive session. Anybody like to rewrite that before we go any further? Do you have it, Carl?
Think so?
Is there
Second,
a second? Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Who
Do you want to
seconded
read the
that?
motion back, Carl?
Who seconded it? Rick?
Matt
I did.
seconded it.
Okay, so the motion is that move that the trustees, the Village of Saxons River, invite the Athens Select Board to meet with us for a special meeting at the Saxons River Fire Station. At their earliest convenience, the topics of the meeting will be
A
the
contract.
contract and action to be taken on the contract after executive session.
Okay. Any changes to the wording? Any further discussion? All in favor signify approval with a show of hands. And it's unanimous. Okay, I think the executive session is complete, and I believe we are at that magic moment. Are we
motion to
ready for a
adjourn.
vote to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Good night.
Hello.